I gotta say, there is nothing better in this world than a depreciating asset. And in the car world, the electric cars, if you're into electric cars, or if you're into cars in general, kind of that pandemic wave, we're really just riding that Maverick down right now. So this is a 2021 Cross Turismo Turbo, spec'd up to $199,000. The owner of it paid $100,000 just 3 years later, 50% off, and it's probably worth even less now. And you can actually get Taycans in the $40,000 range. So I am going to talk about the spec of this car, talk about how it drives, and then talk about, is it actually worth it getting something like this? Is it risky? Because, you know, if you got like a used 911, there's expensive maintenance that comes with it. Just the oil changes alone can be $600 or $700 from the dealership. So usable battery pack on this is 83.7 kilowatt hours, just around that area. And the rated range on it is 205 miles. Now, the owner has told me that it actually will show 276 on the gauge, and it will change based on how you're driving and everything like that. So Taycans are generally underrated from the factory, whereas Teslas used to be like on highway speed, you'd get like 70% of the rated range. The new ones are better now, I will say that. But Taycans, don't let what on paper shows you. On paper is like in the worst conditions what you will get. Also, with these 21-inch wheels, you're reducing the range even more because the rear in this has 305s on it. So they are extremely inefficient wheels. So if you were to get a square setup and thinner tires, it would actually get you a lot more range out of this vehicle. But overall, just having the hatchback, it has a frunk. It also has charge ports on both sides of the vehicle, which is really unique. So on your driver's side of the vehicle, you can see that it doesn't have DC fast charging. So this is just for your slower home charging, just a non-high-speed charger on the driver's side. So if we go over onto the passenger side, you have another charge port here, and it just opens up like that. And then this is where you can do your DC fast charging here. So I think that's actually kind of cool. And the other interesting thing, you're like, okay, well, can I charge them both at the same time? You cannot. The second you open this charger, you can actually hear that one lock up and vice versa. So I do think it is really cool that they have two different sides. But that's also something to think about, because if you pull up to a charger and you're like, wait a second, which side is the port on? Because normally, like in a gas car, there's a little arrow next to the fuel gauge, and it'll point to which side of the car it's on. So I'm not sure if it actually has that in here, but it is a unique feature. This also has an air suspension and rear wheel steering. Now, the air suspension, both of those are options on the vehicle, so not every Taycan comes with that. But my God, when you turn this vehicle, it's incredible what it feels like. And it's also kind of rare for non-SUVs to have the rear wheel steering. The handling is already good because of the low center of gravity, but then rear wheel steering just lets you pivot around in turns, and it's incredible. And the overall look of this vehicle is really cool. It has the off-road package as well, which is, it's a weird that they call it the off-road package, considering it has 21-inch wheels with low-profile tires, but hey, whatever. You have these flares right here, which are included amongst other options that give it the off-road package. And then it has like a gravel setting you can hit. It raises the suspension. So it has a lot of that. Now, the interior of the Taycan is really well put together, really nice materials, Alcantara steering wheel. These seats are also heated and cooled, surprisingly. They don't look like they'd be cooled, but they are. But there's a couple downfalls. You know, with electric vehicles, Tesla has really set the standard because of having a software-defined vehicle. They handle all of their recalls through that. They send updates to the vehicle that change the software. It's really amazing what they do. And when the owner took delivery of this, there were 4 recalls. 2 of them were handled at the dealership. Another 2 are outstanding, but he has to take the car back to the dealership to have them done. Also, this car comes with a charging cable, a 25-foot long charging cable, which is really nice. But he can't even currently use that because there is a software update or recall that needs to happen with the charging cable. So he can't even use that. And that is a huge deficiency that these cars have, this and VW. Yes, the car is well put together. Yes, it drives really well. It looks amazing, but there's software issues with these things, which is really annoying. Now, despite that, a lot of people won't look into that or haven't owned a Tesla to even understand what they're missing out on. But There are cool things like for the passenger seat, you can go to adjust passenger seat. And then from the driver's side, I can actually control the passenger seat with the switches from the driver's seat. So I think there are unique things like that. The Tesla has it as well. You just tap the screen, you can adjust the passenger seat as opposed to you reaching over here. Because look, you drive a Taycan, you're rich. You can't be reaching over here and pull your shoulder for the tennis match you have this weekend against your banker. Okay, so that's why they have this all fitted in here. The other thing I like that they have there are some buttons up here like traction control, suspension, air suspension, and then this little diamond button. So there are buttons on here that you can press that interact with like haptic feedback. So you have your cooled seats here, and then you have this screen down here. Here's the gravel mode that I talked about. And then you have your surround cameras, and then you can adjust your drive settings, your chassis mode, gravel, range mode. Range mode lowers the vehicle, and then you have your drive mode here, which adjusts how sporty you want the car to be. And one thing I love is when you put it into Sport Plus mode, it cuts the air conditioning off and all of the auxiliary things that are going to be pulling from the battery to give you maximum performance. So that is really cool. It also has a fully panoramic roof, but it's not the electrochromatic glass that you find in the Sport Turismos. So the interior is very luxurious. The one downfall to me is the software in these things is just not quite what it could be, but they will get better in the future. Just as far as a downside, to buying one of these vehicles, what could happen with it? You could find deficiencies in the software. If you bought something like a Tesla, you would get software updates and it would act like the new cars that are coming out, even if your car is 3 or 4 years old. So now that we've touched on all that, let's take it for a drive. All right, so Taycan Turbo Cross Turismo, $200,000 vehicle new. We're driving it. The air suspension's dialed in. Alcantara steering wheel feels great. Got our visibility out of the back is good. So it has all these fancy features to it, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good electric vehicle. It doesn't make it a good vehicle in general. So how does it drive? The performance on this thing is awesome, and it feels different than the Tesla. Tesla feels more like a punch, and this feels more like a luxury hit. There's a Model Y Performance in front of me in Quicksilver. It looks incredible. But overall, I think the driving dynamics of this vehicle is excellent. You gotta love how you can just dial in your drive mode right here. So we're just gonna go into sport mode. You can tap here for your suspension. All of that stuff, I like how it's just quick touches right here. I don't like, the display is kind of tucked in and hidden down here. Again, not that big of a deal, and you also have to like dig through the menus, and the menus aren't very nice looking. Like when you're going to get something, it's very, doesn't look great. But overall, the uniqueness of the Taycan and the luxury experience that you get while you're in here, and you're driving something that you're probably not going to see two of. If you're driving a Tesla, you're going to see that there's multiple of your vehicle. It's hard to differentiate because there's only so many options. Porsche, you can literally put any color on your vehicle for a price, just like anything from them. But the driving experience of this is really good. It's sporty, and as far as options go, I feel like the air suspension is certainly something you should heavily consider. Four-wheel steering, I would say, if you can find one with four-wheel steering, get that, because it feels so good. The ventilated seats are nice. I like the display up here. You can see the 3 dials that are important to you. Seating position is really good. The one thing I will say is this has Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires on it. I would switch that to an all-season tire because they are allowed in here, and this has the sound insulated glass, so it even has extra protection, and it's still allowed vehicle. Part of that is because the rear wheels are 305, so they're just really loud and wide. But I would go to an all-season tire when you need to switch up tires on this thing, or even look at the Hankook Ion Evo All Seasons. It's not as good as a tire in terms of performance, but again, are you taking this to the racetrack, things like that? Probably not. There's a guy, his tire is exploding on the side of the road here. Jesus. He's lost both tires. What are you doing, dude? Get off the road. So, and there goes my GoPro. So that's that. We'll switch it to this view right here. There we go. Now you can only see me. I mean, it is so fast. And then to have regenerative braking built into the brakes is really cool. But yeah, I mean, this is just like a point and shoot vehicle, but doesn't feel as like kind of immature as a Model 3. Definitely the comparison for this is the Model S, but it is so fun to drive fast. And the other thing with electric vehicles that I've always felt is if you floor a gas car, you have to wait till the motor is at the right temperature, and you have to, you know, I've always felt like kind of guilty when you floor a gas car, not because you're wasting gas, but because you know the components are going to fail in the engine eventually, and that's just increasing that. And with electric cars, you have very few moving parts. So I've always just kind of felt that with these, it's just less guilt in driving them hard. So we're just kind of ripping around here. So yeah, I think, you know, the other thing is the battery warranty, which I will have on the bottom of the screen here. That's the main thing that you need to look into when, and it's also a 2-speed transmission, so you feel it like kind of shift, which is cool. You need to consider the battery warranty on these things. They have a long battery warranty on these, and the big failure would be the batteries and replacing tires on this. Again, I would go with the all-season. But that's the big thing. If you're looking to buy a gas car that has, this only has 10,000 miles on it. That's the other thing, the depreciation on this after only 10,000 miles to lose half its value. Do a little launch here. Oh my God. Had trouble putting the power down. It is a little cool outside, so these tires are struggling. Overall, this is such a cool experience, and it's a unique experience. It's not something that you're going to see a ton of on the road, and they're probably not going to have your spec. Jeez, it gets squirrely. So if you want something that's unique, it's already taken the big depreciation hit, and you could find it and search for exactly the spec that you want to get, the Taycan is the car for you. And this has the rear wheel or all-wheel steering, however you want to say it, which just makes it so nimble in parking lots. The air suspension, GPS-based air suspension. So maybe you go to pick up your kid at school and there's a big speed bump there. You can mark it so the car will automatically lift itself. It just has a lot of really nice luxury and unique performance features to it. In a way, a one-off vehicle with the specs that you can get. So I think that this would be a really good choice for you if you're looking to step into an EV. I don't know that I'd recommend road tripping it. These do have excellent charging curves, but the problem is the third-party chargers are unreliable. So if you're going to be road tripping it, you need to go with a Tesla. If you're not, I mean, just check out this turn here that I'm going to do. I mean, that's remarkable. And then it just launches into oblivion, having all that power, and it's all effortless. Like, there's no drama with that. So, you know, I think the downsides of the vehicle are the software is, it's just what it is. There's not going to be any advancement to it. There's other electric vehicles like Rivian and Tesla being the leaders that have the best software. Lucid 2 has the capability to do the over-the-air updates, and I think those three are the best. But this, in terms of the driving experience, that's why you're buying it, and it does it incredibly well. Now, if you want to see this compared to a Tesla Model 3 Performance, click this video right here. I think you're really going to enjoy that, showing you what this does better than the Model 3 and what the Model 3 does better, and showing the value of the Tesla Model 3 Performance.